Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a really important theme in modernist literature. The theme of alienation. This is a crucial topic if you're an English literature student, and it comes up all the time in exams like the BAMA, UGC Net, and other competitive tests. So, grab your notebooks, and let's get started. First things first, what exactly do we mean by alienation? In simple terms, alienation refers to a feeling of isolation, loneliness, and a deep sense of disconnection. This disconnection can be from society, family, nature, or even from your own self. Think of it as feeling like a stranger in your own life. In modernist literature, characters often feel completely lost and adrift in a world that's changing at a dizzying pace. They feel like they don't belong anywhere, and this creates a profound sense of unease. So, why did alienation become such a massive theme during the modernist period? To understand this, we need to look at the historical context. The early 20th century was a time of immense turmoil and upheaval. The world was reeling from the devastation of World War I, which shattered the illusion of progress and civility. Alongside this, rapid industrialization was pulling people away from rural communities and into massive, anonymous cities. This process, known as urbanization, led to the breakdown of traditional social structures and values. All these changes created a pervasive sense of confusion, anxiety, and insecurity. The old certainties were gone, and people were left questioning everything they once believed in. Modernist writers responded to this crisis by creating characters who were isolated, psychologically troubled, and unable to form meaningful connections with others. They wanted to capture the feeling of what it was like to be an individual lost in a modern crowd. Let's break down the causes of this alienation a bit more. One of the biggest drivers was the collapse of social and moral values. Traditional institutions like religion and the monarchy, which had provided a sense of order and meaning for centuries, were losing their authority. Without these guiding principles, characters in modernist works often feel morally and spiritually adrift, separated from a society whose rules no longer make sense to them. Another major cause was the rise of industrialization and urban life. In modernist literature, the city is rarely a place of opportunity and excitement. Instead, it's often depicted as a cold, mechanical, and impersonal machine. The bustling streets are filled with lonely individuals, and the constant noise and motion only serve to heighten their feelings of isolation. The urban landscape becomes a symbol of the sterile, dehumanizing nature of modern existence. Beyond the social and environmental factors, psychological alienation is absolutely central to modernist writing. This is about the internal experience of feeling disconnected. Characters often suffer from a fragmented sense of self, as if their identity is broken into pieces. They experience intense inner conflict, emotional instability, and a profound inability to understand their own feelings, let alone communicate them to others. This internal chaos is a direct reflection of the chaotic world outside. Now, let's look at how some of the greatest modernist writers explored this theme in their work. We have to start with T.S. Eliot. His monumental poem, The Wasteland, is perhaps the ultimate expression of modern alienation. The poem presents a fragmented, desolate world filled with broken relationships and spiritual emptiness. The characters are unable to communicate in any meaningful way. Their conversations are disjointed and hollow. Life is portrayed as a mechanical, repetitive cycle, devoid of any real purpose. Eliot shows us the civilization in ruins, and the people within it are just as broken. Next, we have Virginia Woolf in her masterpiece, Mrs. Dalloway. She masterfully explores the inner lives of her characters to reveal their deep emotional isolation. The protagonist, Kuda Disa Dalloway, is hosting a party and is surrounded by people, yet she feels an overwhelming sense of loneliness and disconnection. She reflects on the gap between her public persona and her private self. This feeling is even more intense in the character of Septimus Smith, a shell-shocked war veteran who is completely alienated from the society he fought for. He is haunted by his trauma and finds it impossible to connect with anyone, even his loving wife. Woolf uses the stream of consciousness technique to show us just how lonely one can be, even in a crowded room. Then there's the giant of modernism, James Joyce, in his collection of short stories, Dubliners, and his novel, A portrait of the artist as a young man, Joyce explores the theme of paralysis and alienation. His characters feel trapped by the suffocating atmosphere of Dublin, held back by the strictures of society, religion, and family tradition. This feeling of being stuck creates a profound sense of emotional and intellectual alienation. The protagonist of a portrait, Stephen Dedalus, ultimately realizes he must escape Ireland to become a true artist, to free himself from the nets that hold him down. We also can't forget D.H. Lawrence in his novels. Like Sons and Lovers, or Lady Chatterley's Lover, alienation often manifests as a conflict between natural human instincts and the dehumanizing forces of industrial society. Lawrence believed that modern life, with its focus on machinery and intellect, had cut people off from their bodies and their primal emotions. His characters often struggle to find genuine emotional and physical fulfillment in a world that seems to suppress their very nature. This disconnect between the natural self and the industrial world is a core form of alienation in his work. To express these complex feelings of alienation, modernist writers couldn't just use traditional literary techniques. They needed a new way of writing to reflect the broken inner lives of their characters. This led to a wave of formal experimentation. The stream of consciousness technique, which we saw in Woolf and Joyce, was revolutionary. It allowed writers to directly portray the flow of thoughts, feelings, and memories in a character's mind, showing their fragmented and non-linear nature. They also used fragmented narratives, breaking up the story into disjointed pieces to mirror the fragmented reality of the modern world. Symbolism became incredibly important, with objects and images carrying deep psychological weight. And they played with time, abandoning linear chronology to better represent the subjective experience of memory and consciousness. All these experimental techniques were not just stylistic quirks. They were essential tools for conveying the disorienting and alienating experience of modern life. So, what is the lasting importance of this theme? Why do we still study it today? The theme of alienation allowed modernist writers to explore the psychological depth of the human experience in a way that had never been done before. It wasn't just about telling a story. It was about dissecting the human psyche. By focusing on alienation, these authors captured the unsettling realities of modern life and showed how individuals grapple with the struggle to find meaning and connection in a seemingly chaotic and indifferent world. Their work holds up a mirror to the anxieties that many of us still feel today. To wrap it all up, alienation is without a doubt one of the central, defining themes of modernist literature. It represents the emotional, social, and spiritual crisis of the modern age. Through this powerful theme, modernist writers challenged old certainties, questioned the very nature of reality, and explored the intricate, often painful, complexities of human consciousness. Understanding alienation is key to unlocking the power and relevance of modernist literature. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this explanation was helpful for your studies. If it was, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more literary analysis, and share it with anyone else who might find it useful. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below in your opinion. Which modernist writer best expresses the theme of alienation? Let's get a discussion going. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.